During the past 3.5 months, it is safe to say that there have been many moments where the wind has simply been knocked out of us. Whether hearing the brutal reports of the latest findings in Israel and Gaza, or experiencing hate and anti-Semitism on our own homegrown soil here in Canada. I, like all of you, have had days where we simply have no words to describe how we feel. And this is typical of loss and despair. We know that our rabbis teach us that upon entering into a Shiva home, it is not incumbent upon us to invoke words of wisdom or support to the mourners, but we simply need to provide a space for them to express their anguish and sorrow if they so choose. To be there for them on their terms, and not to assume that we know what it is that they need to hear at that tender moment. It is much like the rest on a musical score. It is the pauses that allow the music and the interpreter of that music to take a breath and find a way to deliver a message through artistic expression that evokes an emotion within each of us, one that can often not even be explained. And so with the tragedy of our homeland and our people, like a mourner who turns to the words of Psalms, we too turn to music, poetry, and other artistic representations to help us thaw the numbness that has crept into the recesses of our hardened souls. This morning, we will paint a backdrop of grief, war, prayer, and yearning as we present some of the most prominent Israel songs of resilience and hope.
I have no other country, even if my land is aflame. Just a word in Hebrew pierces my veins and my soul. With a painful body, with a hungry heart, here is my home. I will not stay silent because my country changed her face. I will not give up reminding her and sing in her ears until she will open her eyes. With a painful body, with a hungry heart, here is my home. Ein li Eretz Acheret was written in 1982 by Ehud Manor, with music by Karine Alal, two renowned Israeli songwriters. But the piece was not released until 1986. Ehud Manor was torn apart with doubt and heartbreak over the actions of his government and its policies in Lebanon when he wrote this piece. Doron Krakow, president and CEO of the JCC Association of North America, writes, quote, "Manor expressed an idea that is critical to each of us. There is but one Jewish country in the world, and it belongs to all of us. Let us not be silent. Let us not be detached. Let us not be indifferent. We owe a debt to the generations that came before us that, through their trials and tribulations, their traditions and their triumphs, was bequeathed to us a Jewish world that includes the state of Israel," end quote. The song's lyrics express unwavering loyalty and pride towards Israel while also questioning and challenging the government's decisions. Israel is more than politics and religion. It is the national homeland of the Jewish people. We are stakeholders in its present and its future, and the more engaged we are, the bigger the role we can play. Ein li Eretz Acheret not only serves as a reminder of the love and devotion Israelis have for their land, but also encapsulates the spirit of unity and resilience that has defined our nation throughout history. For generations of Jews to come, no matter where they will call home, Israel's strength and independence will make it possible to be whomever and whatever they aspire to be.
אחרת, גם אם אדמתי בוערת, רק מי לה בעברית חודרת, אל עורקיי, אל נשמתי, בגוף כואב, בלב רעב, כאן הוא ביתי.
Lo
When we think about our liturgy, we often assume that many of the prayers are hundreds, if not thousands of years old. And yet, with yearning to establish and the eventual realization of a Jewish state, dozens, if not hundreds, of poems and liturgical passages have been composed to express the dream of the Zionist and the protection of those who defend and live in our Holy Land. Achenu Kol Beit Yisrael is another one of these passages that has become an anthem during this recent war. While composed over a century ago from a prayer book written by Simon Simeon in 1915, its words are simply a perfect reflection for the yearning of our souls to save our homeland from strife and affliction. It reads, "As for our brothers, the whole house of Israel who are given over to trouble or captivity, whether they abide on the sea or on dry land, may the All-Present have mercy upon them and bring them forth from trouble to enlargement, from darkness to light, and from subjection to redemption, now speedily and at a near time." This version has been sung at nearly every pro-Israel rally and is a mantra for Jews across the globe. To be honest, I was not so familiar with the piece prior to October 7th, and it was our own rabbis, Kay, McCarroll, and Baruchel, who introduced me to it, and like them, I too was hooked. I decided to have it arranged for cantor and choir, and it was recently premiered in Krakow while I was on the American Conference of Cantors mission to Poland and Prague. As well, it was also sung at the recent Reformed Cantors of Canada concert at Temple Sinai this past November. And this liturgical passage, of course, helps us to assuage the sense of isolation that can engulf us when traumatic experience overtakes us.
Achenu kol Beit Yisrael, Achenu kol Beit Yisrael, Hanetunim b'tzara uvashivya, ha'omdim bein bayam uvein bayabasha.
Hamakom Yirachem Alehem V'yotzihem b'tzara Lirvacha U'me'afel al yora U'mishibur l'geula Hashta b'hagala U'vizman karim.
Shehashalom Shelo is not such a familiar liturgical passage to us. However, its message of peace and hope for Israel is one that we recite every day. Interestingly, the text can be found within a larger rubric of Shabbat Zmirot, Shabbat songs that are recited weekly. the text became an alternative to Sim Shalom in service number 6 of the Choose Your Own Shabbos Adventure of the Reform Movement's Old Gates of Prayer Siddur. You can look it up there. It reads, "May the God of peace help us find blessing and peace for all, far and near. May God of mercy bless God's people with peace. Then we will live to see our children and their children busy with Torah and mitzvot and all Israel at peace. Wonderful in counsel is God the mighty, the eternal creator, the author of peace." And there's a phrase within the text that reads, Pela Yoez al Gibor ad Shalom. And many attribute this to come from the book of Isaiah and was referenced to prophets such as Emmanuel. As our own Saul Shipp actually pointed out to my attention, it's also translated as wonderful in counsel is God's mighty. So making comparison between God and our great prophets. And because the text is found in Shabbat Zmirot, many of the original musical settings that were written are nigunim and would have been sung in an upbeat and up-tempo fashion around the Rebbe's table or tish or some other Shabbos celebration. After the text found its way into the Reform prayer book, it was a license for some of the more contemporary composers of the time to give it their own flavor. And as a result, beautiful choral and cantorial solos were written in the early days of the establishment of the State of Israel. One of these such arrangements was by the late Cantor Lawrence Avery. Cantor Avery was a Juilliard grad and one of the most respected and menschiest professors of the cantorial arts at the School of Sacred Music at Hebrew Union College, Jewish Institute of Religion. He had one of the most beautiful lyric tenor voices of all time, which not only matched his personality, but gave him a gift for interpretation and composition. And this arrangement of Sheha Shalom Shelo was one of his gems.
Sheha Shalom Shelo Yasim Aleinu Bracha v'shalom mismol umiyamim al Yisrael shalom Harachaman hoyevarech et amo v'shalom ve'yizku lirot panim uvnei vanim odekim b'torah of mitzvot.
With the declaration of the State of Israel on May 14, 1948, for the first time in 2,000 years, the Jews were living in their own land, governed by their own leaders. It was logical that a prayer for the new Jewish state and for its peace was in order. But what kind of prayer should it be, and who should write it? The task was taken up by Rabbi Isaac Halevi Herzog, the first chief Ashkenazic rabbi of the new state. He recognized that while Israel needed a prayer for its government, its prayer should also reflect the Zionist movement that propelled the creation of the state. Herzog worked hard to achieve a balance between politics and ideology with language polished by Herzog's good friend, S.Y. Agnon, a winner of the Nobel Prize in Literature. This prayer for peace was adopted by synagogues in Israel and ultimately by many synagogues around the world, including ours. It is recited on Shabbat morning following the Torah service. We pray it weekly and sing settings of Avinu Shebashamayim, our Father in Heaven. Jewish composer David Berger is known for his choral works and for many songs that express the emotional depth of North American Jewry's passion for Israel. Among his many accomplishments, he is the first person to have deduced and set the vocalizations of Psalms 151, 154, and 155 from the Dead Sea Scrolls. In 1975, Mati Lazar, founder and director of Zamir Choral Foundation, asked David Berger to compose a new choral piece with which the Zamir Chorale could end its concerts, and David began to compose what would become the anthem of the entire Jewish choral movement, Tefillah Lishlom Medinat Israel, Prayer for the State of Israel, or Tefillah for short. In explaining his process of composition for this piece, David Berger connects peace in Israel with peace in the whole world by saying, quote, "What came first is the yearning for peace of Israel, and therefore for the world. Then came the music, and then came the ability to relate to the music," end quote. We pray for Israel with more depth than ever since October 7th. We sing with the fervent longings of our hearts and minds for lasting peace.
Israel,
Shalom.